Okay? It's that simple. Crime. There's all kinds of people that don't want those problems solved. All right? The master manipulators, the grand puppeteers at the very top, they're the ones that don't want the problem solved. They don't want the problem of war solved. They want these problems not only maintained, they want them sustained. So you understand that this immigration thing was invented. They create poverty, okay, because it benefits them. Ask the Chamber of Commerce, okay, immigration, is it bad or good? You know, what I call the Chamber of Communists, okay, because these people will say, well, yeah, it's good for business because we sell more stuff. I mean, anybody with half a brain out there can figure out, hey, if you got a grocery store, if you got a restaurant, if you got a bank, if you got a jewelry store, a clothing store, on and on and on, if you've got housing to offer, if you're a landlord, if you're a banker, you got money to lend, on and on and on, then yes, more people means more money, okay? Folks, understand all the special interest groups, the collective special interest groups that are colluding to create these problems we have. Everybody, you got to stop being stupid. Okay, just understand, it is really that simple, it is really that basic, and the only way I have peace of mind, because it all makes sense, I sort it out, I say, God, you know, help me to understand this. Here it is. Jesus said, the love of money is the root of all the evil. He didn't say some of the evil, it's all the evil. Okay, so if you want to know, you know, who's creating these problems, all this discontent in these Central American countries, understand it's these same globalists. They want trouble everywhere. They don't want any safe haven. They don't want you to go anywhere. You know, look how hard it is to get to Switzerland. People say Switzerland's so great, not if it's so hard to get into. And why can't it spread? Why don't we take an example and say, let's follow their formula, what they did in Switzerland. Let's have what they have right here in America. Let's demand it. How can it be that over 90% of the American people were against the banking bailout, and yet it still went through, no problem? How can these things be? Okay? It's ridiculous. How can 90%, that's hundreds of millions of people, okay, how can that be that they don't get their way? When then they call it a democracy. And supposedly the politicians are working for you and me. We've elected them. We've hired them to do a job. And have you seen the salaries of so many of these government workers? It's sickening. And the country's in debt to the Chinese? Folks, the Chinese, okay? Forced abortion, okay? 5,000 approximately executions every year. And then you wonder why their prisons don't have as much population as ours. You know, why we've got the highest prison population percentage-wise in the world. Well, you know, they're killing them all. Okay, minor infractions in this country will probably get you dead in China. Okay, they've got extreme tyranny. They've got extreme authoritarianism. Okay, this is what you don't want. And, you know, for us to go in debt to a country like China, I just find that reprehensible. I find that totally insufferable, unacceptable, intolerable to the nth degree. And I wish everybody out there did too. And say, no, we're getting that debt paid. We're taking over this money printing business. And all you people, you know what, we're going to start audit Henry Paulson. Let's go find out really what he's got in his personal vault. Okay? Let's go see what all these people have. Let's start with these people that I really believe have robbed us. Guys like Alan Greenspan. I mean, these people have as much money as they could ever spend in 1,000 lifetimes. It's sickening. If we let these people get away with the theft that they have inflicted on not just the American people, but around the world. The Federal Reserve Bank being, the Federal Reserve notes being the world reserve currency. You see, we're at the top of the heap, the eye of the pyramid, Satan. That's who these people are working for. We're the ones that are screwing things up worldwide by tolerating this. And whose job is it? Everybody in the world, look, what are you Americans doing? What, are you also dumbed down from the fluoride and the GMO food and, you know, the television and the knickknacks and gimmicks, the trinkets that they hand you, the crumbs they throw you, that you're going to sit there and let this happen? They create the poverty. They create the need for welfare. And then I got to listen to people blasting the welfare recipients. Who's the real welfare recipients? Where does this thing end? They need more and more taxes. Hey, the landlord raised the cost of living. We're subsidizing the landlords with Section 8 and this and whatnot. You know, hell, just give it to the welfare recipient. At least there'd be some competition. The landlords would have to bow down to the tenant and say, hey, you know what, you need a lower rent, do you? Okay, so they could negotiate. Is the government negotiating? No. They're saying, well, we'll pay this percentage of it. So if the landlord raises his rent, by 20%, the government says, okay, well, now we've got to pay a higher percentage. So that means later they got to get it out of taxes. There's your snake eating the tail analogy. Well, these people want to strangle the bulk of the population, and they're really hurting us. They're wreaking a lot of havoc, creating a lot of misery and unnecessary suffering out there. But they're going to they're destroying themselves. They're eating the goose that laid the golden egg. That's what they're doing, eating their own tail, a snake eating its own tail. So, these people are going to lose just by the virtue of the immutable laws of the universe. These people will destroy themselves. Good always ends up prevailing. So keep your chin up in the long run. Understand that you be on the side of right and justice and mercy and all good things, and you ask God, for the advice when it comes to forming an opinion and having the right perspective, the right perception. You say, God, help me, because I can't always trust my own instincts. I've got to turn to you because I've been so manipulated through propaganda from every which way from Sunday, coming at me from all angles, the educational system, the mainstream media system, from here and there and everywhere, that, I really need advice from on high. Help me to tune into your spirit, to be sensitive, and to tap into the intuition you gave me to understand what you will for me. What is the right way to look at things, and get to the bottom of things, and understand that people create problems because it's job security. Basically, that's it. It makes them seem important. Oh, you need the president now, and now with the current events, we got another war starting up in Iraq. And it's interesting to me, intriguing, is this new group, this new violent group that's rising up, is the acronym ISIS. And what's intriguing about that is, just this idea that, ISIS was this woman, from what I understand, that was a lover of money. And her dad was this Osiris guy. And that on our dollar bill, the symbol for the dollar bill, this serpent with the lines through it, this is, where this came from ISIS. And these are probably much like mercenaries, these guys were, I'm doing it because of religious belief, so I'm very convicted. So they're very scary in that sense, because, if a man really believes that he's fighting for his, his beliefs, that, this is Allah telling him to go do these things and, kill the infidels and everything. It's a very frightening prospect. So these people could be very intimidating. They are terrorizing. And what we find out, that our own government is supporting these people and training these people. It's outrageous. We create these factions because it's good for business. It's good for Wall Street's bottom line. It's good for the banking industry. It gives them more control over everybody's lives, more chaos. And they hate the Islamic people. They hate the Muslims. Basically, all these bankers do, because these people hate usurious interest rates. In fact, this is where you get your head cut off. For committing the banking crimes that have been committed in America and all over the world, you'd have had your head cut off a long time ago. And so these bankers hate these countries. So if they can invoke war in these nations, then they're happy to do it. Okay, and that's what they do. They bring it on. They induce the discontent and the hatred for one another. One group doesn't want to be subjugated by another. And how do they subjugate each other? It's all through control, through the money, through the finances. This is how they control. They're military men, and and people's opinion. Well, am I working for this arm of the establishment, or should I work for this arm of the establishment? Who's going to write my check? You know what I mean? This is how people weigh it out in their mind, because their security is at stake. They're trying to care for their kids. They're trying to pay their bills. So it's not hard to get people to act violently. People get desperate. They do desperate things. And violence is one of those stupid, desperate things people do. So anyhow, I think I'm going to sum up this video today and wish everybody the best. And like I said, I really do wish the best for you, because the better things are for you, quite literally, the better they are for me. I just want everybody to understand, if you don't feel content, if you've got riches, and you don't feel like, like you think you ought to feel free and liberated, if you still feel insecure and you get scared, it's because of what's happening to your fellow man. The unnecessary suffering that's being imposed and inflicted on your fellow human being, your brothers, your sisters, in a very literal way. It's a metaphor. I mean, we all actually we all are blood connected to some degree. So in a way, I mean, we can't help it. This is an incestuous collective of humanity to some degree. I mean, we don't have children with direct, brothers and sisters and mothers and all this. But I mean, we are all the same bloodline. We are all equal. That's the reality that we need to tap into and understand that, does this suffering need to take place or doesn't it? Investigate and research for yourself. I've done that investigating, I've done that research, and I found out that no, indeed, it is all artificial. It's artificial scarcity, it's imposed austerity, because everybody on earth could be living prosperous, free lives, okay? And having fun. Every single day of the week, you wake up free. You wake up when you want, how you want, and you go to work where you want, doing what you want for who you want, anytime you want around the world. Superfluity everywhere. If you want to move to a different location, there could be all kinds of vacant houses in that general area because we'd be so productive. I mean, can you imagine if people were totally free? Guys having fun, building beautiful houses everywhere. So anytime, hey, you know what, all these are filled up, that's fine.